Happiness comes and goes, but inner peace stays forever. This statement might make you pause and reflect on the true nature of happiness and inner peace. Have you ever wondered why the greatest joys in life sometimes don't bring lasting contentment? Why is it that when we achieve what we desire, the feeling of happiness fades so quickly? This is the question that Buddhism answers, offering us a deep and different perspective on happiness and peace in life. Today, we'll explore one of Buddhism's key teachings. Why inner peace is much more important than fleeting happiness. When we talk about happiness, most people think of external things, a fulfilling life, a good relationship, or even career success. These things bring us joy, but as we all know, this joy is temporary. External things change, come and go, and as a result, happiness fluctuates with them. So, if it's not happiness, then what is it that truly brings us lasting satisfaction? It's inner peace, a mental state that isn't dependent on external conditions, but instead is a calm and stable feeling that comes from within. This video will offer deep insights into the meaning of inner peace and why it is the key to living a truly fulfilling life. In the next few minutes, you'll discover how Buddhism views peace and happiness, and you'll realize that when we find inner peace within ourselves, we can overcome any challenge without being swayed by external circumstances. But before we dive into these deeper details, let's ask a question. Have you ever truly felt happy, or are you simply looking for happiness in things outside of yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you find value in what we're sharing today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss out on upcoming videos. Together, we'll explore and practice Buddhist teachings to achieve inner peace in our daily lives. Remember, peace is not something distant, but a choice and a journey, and that journey begins right now. With us. Part 1, Defining Inner Peace and Happiness. Happiness and inner peace are two concepts that are often intertwined in our minds. Yet they are fundamentally different in terms of their source and their lasting impact on our lives. In Buddhism, the distinction between these two concepts is essential for understanding the path to true well-being and spiritual liberation. In this section, we will define happiness and inner peace, explore their differences, and discuss how the teachings of Buddhism guide us toward cultivating lasting inner peace. Defining happiness. Happiness is a state of well-being that many people seek throughout their lives. It is often associated with external conditions, such as a promotion at work, a new possession, or a special moment in life. These moments bring us joy and pleasure, but they are fleeting and temporary. Happiness, as commonly understood in the modern world, is conditional and dependent on circumstances outside of ourselves. When things go well, when we achieve something, by something we desire, or experience something beautiful, we feel happy. However, when external conditions change, or when things don't go according to plan, that happiness tends to vanish, leaving behind a sense of emptiness or dissatisfaction. This cycle of seeking happiness through external means is driven by the craving or desire, known in Buddhism as tanha, that arises in our minds. We constantly chase after new experiences, possessions, or achievements in the hope that they will bring us lasting fulfillment. Yet, as many people realize, the happiness derived from external sources is only temporary. And once the novelty wears off, the craving for more arises. This endless cycle of craving and dissatisfaction is a central aspect of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth that Buddhism seeks to transcend. From a Buddhist perspective, the pursuit of happiness through external conditions is often seen as a misguided path. It is not that external experiences are inherently bad, but rather that they cannot provide the deep, lasting happiness that we seek. In Buddhism, true happiness is not something that can be found outside of ourselves, it must come from within, through the cultivation of wisdom, mindfulness, and ethical conduct. Defining inner peace. On the other hand, inner peace is a state of mental and emotional balance that arises when we let go of our attachments, desires, and aversions. Inner peace is not dependent on external circumstances or achievements. It is a deeper, more stable state of being that remains unaffected by the ups and downs of life. Inner peace is not merely the absence of conflict or stress, but rather the presence of tranquility, acceptance, and wisdom in our hearts and minds. In Buddhism, inner peace is closely associated with the cultivation of equanimity, a quality of mind that remains steady and undisturbed in the face of both pleasure and pain. It is the ability to maintain a sense of calm and clarity, no matter what external circumstances arise. Unlike happiness, which can be fleeting and conditional, inner peace is a lasting state that arises from a deep understanding of the nature of existence and the mind. The foundation of inner peace is rooted in acceptance, accepting things as they are, without trying to control or change them. It involves letting go of the constant striving for more, the desire to avoid pain or discomfort, and the attachment to particular outcomes. In Buddhism, this acceptance is not passive resignation, but an active engagement with life as it is, without the distortions of craving, fear, or anger. Inner peace and happiness in Buddhism. Buddhism teaches that true inner peace arises when we liberate our minds from the cycle of craving, aversion, and ignorance. The Buddhist teachings emphasize that the root of suffering is the attachment to things that are impermanent and the misunderstanding of the true nature of the self. According to the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha taught that suffering is an inherent part of life. But it can be overcome by understanding its causes and following the path that leads to the cessation of suffering. One of the key teachings in Buddhism is the Noble Eightfold Path, which is the practical guide to developing wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. Through the practice of the Eightfold Path, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, we can gradually overcome the causes of suffering and cultivate the inner peace that leads to liberation. Buddhism also teaches the concept of emptiness, known as shunyata, which suggests that all phenomena are impermanent and lack an inherent, fixed essence. This insight helps us to see that nothing in the world, including our own sense of self, is permanent or unchanging. By realizing the emptiness of all things, we free ourselves from attachment in the pursuit of fleeting happiness, allowing inner peace to arise. Furthermore, the Buddhist practice of mindfulness plays a crucial role in developing inner peace. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present and aware in each moment, without judgment or attachment. By practicing mindfulness, we begin to see our habitual patterns of craving and aversion and can learn to let go of them. This leads to a natural sense of tranquility, as we stop fighting against the flow of life and accept things as they are. The role of wisdom and understanding in inner peace. At the heart of Buddhism's approach to inner peace is wisdom, the understanding of the impermanent, interconnected, and insubstantial nature of all things. When we cultivate wisdom through meditation, reflection, and study, we begin to see the world and ourselves more clearly. This clarity helps us to let go of the mistaken belief that external things will bring lasting happiness and allows us to focus on the development of inner peace. The Buddha's teachings also emphasize loving kindness, metta, and compassion, karuna, which are essential qualities for cultivating peace within ourselves and extending that peace to others. By developing a heart of compassion and kindness, we create a space of peace in our own hearts, which radiates out to those around us. The path to lasting peace. In conclusion, while happiness is often sought after in external conditions, it is ultimately an elusive and temporary experience. Inner peace, on the other hand, is a lasting state of being that is independent of the fluctuations of life. Through the practice of Buddhist teachings, such as mindfulness, wisdom, and ethical conduct, we can cultivate this inner peace, which leads to true freedom and liberation from the suffering of attachment and craving. Buddhism teaches that true peace comes from within. And it is through understanding the nature of our minds and the world around us that we can experience lasting happiness and freedom from suffering. The more we focus on developing inner peace, the more we can experience joy and contentment, regardless of what life brings our way. By following the path of the Buddha, we move closer to a life of peace, harmony, and true happiness, one that is not dependent on external circumstances but rooted in the tranquility of the heart and mind. Part 2: The Illusion of Happiness. In the pursuit of happiness, many people often find themselves trapped in a never-ending cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. Despite the constant search for fulfillment, true happiness seems elusive, always just out of reach. This section explores the concept of happiness as an illusion, drawing on Buddhist teachings to shed light on why the pursuit of external sources of happiness leads to suffering, and how understanding the impermanent nature of all things can help us break free from this cycle. The elusiveness of happiness. Happiness, as it is commonly understood in the modern world, is often associated with external achievements, possessions, or experiences. We may think that once we acquire more wealth, gain status or recognition, or experience a particular moment of joy, we will find lasting fulfillment. However, this idea of happiness is illusory. The more we chase after external sources of happiness, the more elusive it becomes. This pursuit of happiness through material success, power, or fleeting pleasures creates an endless cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. The Buddha referred to this cycle as samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, in which beings are trapped by their attachments to transient things. As we chase after happiness, we are caught in a web of desire, constantly seeking more, never truly satisfied. This leads to a state of inner unrest and suffering. In Buddhism, this never-ending pursuit of external happiness is seen as a form of ignorance, the ignorance of the true nature of reality. We fail to see that everything in the world is impermanent and subject to change. When we attach ourselves to things that are fleeting, we are bound to experience disappointment, as these things cannot provide us with lasting contentment. Buddhist perspective: attachment to the impermanent. The Buddha's teachings emphasize the transient nature of all things. He taught that dukkha, or suffering, arises from our attachment to things that are inherently impermanent. When we cling to external conditions, whether it's wealth, relationships, or status, we create the conditions for our own suffering, because all of these things are subject to change and decay. This is the essence of the Buddhist doctrine of impermanence, anicca, which teaches that everything in life is in a constant state of flux. The Buddha's words on attachment are clear: if you cling to things, you will suffer, because everything is impermanent. Happiness that is based on external factors is fragile, like a flower that wilts in the heat or a river that dries up in drought. These external sources of happiness may bring joy for a while, but they will eventually fade, leaving us longing for more. When we attach ourselves to these fleeting pleasures, we mistakenly believe that they will provide us with lasting fulfillment. However, no matter how much we acquire or achieve, the sense of satisfaction is always short-lived. In the end, the pursuit of happiness through attachment to the impermanent only leads to suffering, frustration, and a sense of emptiness. The cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. Human beings are often driven by desire, the craving for pleasure, success, or approval. The Buddha identified tanha, craving, as one of the root causes of suffering. We seek out experiences, possessions, and achievements in the hope that they will bring us happiness. But each time we fulfill a desire, we are left with a feeling of dissatisfaction. This is because the satisfaction gained from external sources is not true contentment. It is temporary and conditional. The Buddha taught that the more we give in to craving, the more it strengthens, creating a cycle of desire and disappointment. We crave things, obtain them, and momentarily feel happy, but then new desires arise, and the cycle continues. This cycle of craving and dissatisfaction is endless, and it prevents us from experiencing true peace and joy. A key insight from Buddhist philosophy is that craving itself is a form of suffering. Even if we manage to acquire what we desire, the satisfaction is fleeting, and we are left wanting more. This constant cycle of craving and frustration is what traps us in samsara. The Buddha's teachings encourage us to free ourselves from this cycle by letting go of attachment and craving, and cultivating contentment with what we have in the present moment. Example, the pursuit of wealth and status. To illustrate the illusion of happiness, let us consider the example of pursuing wealth or social status. Many people dedicate their entire lives to acquiring money, possessions, and recognition, believing that these external markers of success will bring them lasting happiness. They work tirelessly, sacrifice relationships and well-being, and chase after promotions or material gains, thinking that once they have enough, they will finally feel fulfilled. Yet, time and again, we see that these pursuits often lead to burnout, stress, and a deep sense of emptiness. Wealth and status, while they may provide temporary pleasure or a sense of security, do not bring lasting happiness. Once a person acquires one level of wealth or status, the craving for more grows. The pursuit becomes never-ending, as the individual seeks greater wealth, more recognition, and higher status, believing that each new acquisition will bring them closer to happiness. However, as the Buddha taught, this attachment to external conditions is the source of suffering. No amount of wealth or status can provide lasting fulfillment, because these things are impermanent and ultimately unsatisfying. The more one clings to them, the more one experiences dissatisfaction and frustration. In contrast, those who practice detachment, who let go of their attachment to material wealth or social standing, find a deeper sense of peace. They are no longer caught in the cycle of craving and dissatisfaction, and they experience a sense of inner contentment that is not dependent on external factors. Breaking the cycle. Letting go of attachments. To break free from the illusion of happiness and the cycle of desire, the Buddha taught the path of non-attachment. This does not mean rejecting material possessions or responsibilities, but rather approaching life with a sense of detachment, recognizing that all things are impermanent and not clinging to them when they come and go. The practice of mindfulness is central to this process. Through mindfulness, we become more aware of our cravings and attachments, and we learn to observe them without becoming entangled in them. Instead of chasing after happiness through external means, we can cultivate an inner sense of peace and contentment, recognizing that true happiness comes not from what we acquire, but from how we relate to the world around us. The Buddha's teachings remind us that the pursuit of external happiness is an illusion, a mirage that will always fade once we approach it. True fulfillment comes not from the accumulation of things, but from the cultivation of wisdom, mindfulness, and compassion. By letting go of our attachment to the impermanent, we can free ourselves from the cycle of craving and dissatisfaction, and discover the deep peace that lies within. The illusion of happiness. In conclusion, the search for happiness through external means, whether it is wealth, status, or pleasure, is a fruitless pursuit. The Buddha's teachings remind us that happiness based on attachment to the impermanent will always lead to suffering. The more we chase after fleeting desires, the more we create dissatisfaction and frustration in our lives. To find true peace and happiness, we must turn inward and cultivate the qualities of detachment, mindfulness, and wisdom. By letting go of our attachment to external conditions, we can experience a deeper sense of fulfillment, one that is not dependent on anything outside of ourselves. This is the path to liberation from suffering, the path that leads to true happiness and inner peace. Part 3: The Stability of Inner Peace. In a world full of noise, stress, and constant changes, the quest for inner peace has become an essential pursuit. Inner peace is not just a fleeting moment of calm, it is a stable state of mind that remains unaffected by the ups and downs of life. This section delves into the nature of inner peace, its stability, and the Buddhist practices that can help cultivate it. The stability of inner peace. Inner peace is the profound tranquility that arises when the mind becomes still, untouched by external events. Unlike happiness, which is often conditional and fleeting, Inner peace is a deep-rooted state of well-being that is not dependent on the circumstances around us. When we experience inner peace, our emotions are not easily swayed by the fluctuations of life. We are no longer controlled by external circumstances or our inner desires, and we are able to remain centered, regardless of what happens. The Buddha taught that the mind, when free from attachments and desires, is naturally peaceful. In the absence of clinging to the transient nature of external experiences, the mind can rest in its natural state of equanimity. This inner peace comes from understanding the impermanent nature of all things and recognizing that true happiness does not arise from the acquisition or avoidance of external circumstances. In Buddhist philosophy, equanimity is the quality of mind that remains undisturbed by pleasure or pain, gain or loss, success or failure. It is the foundation of true inner peace. The Buddha's teachings on equanimity remind us that we do not need to rely on external events for our peace of mind. By cultivating an attitude of balance and detachment, we can experience stability in the face of life's challenges. Buddhist practices for cultivating inner peace. The practice of mindfulness, Chan Nim, and meditation, Tien, is central to developing inner peace. Through mindfulness, we can bring awareness to the present moment and observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming attached to them. When we become aware of our thoughts without judgment or reactivity, we can let go of the mental clutter that disrupts our peace. This is the first step toward attaining a calm and stable mind. Buddhist meditation techniques, such as vipassana, insight meditation, and metta bhavana, loving-kindness meditation, are particularly effective in cultivating inner peace. In vipassana meditation, practitioners observe the breath and bodily sensations with mindful awareness, allowing thoughts and emotions to arise and pass without attachment. This practice helps to develop insight into the impermanent nature of all phenomena and fosters a sense of detachment from the constant flow of mental activity. Similarly, loving-kindness meditation, metta bhavana, helps to cultivate compassion and goodwill towards oneself and others. By focusing on generating feelings of love and kindness, practitioners can overcome negative emotions such as anger, fear, and resentment, which can disturb inner peace. Over time, these practices help to create a stable and peaceful state of mind that is less influenced by external circumstances. Letting go of attachment and judgment. One of the key aspects of maintaining inner peace is learning to let go of attachment. Attachment to people, possessions, outcomes, or even ideas can create turbulence in the mind. When we attach to something, we become emotionally invested in it, and when it changes or disappears, we experience distress. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering, as it leads to disappointment and unrest. To experience true inner peace, we must learn to release our attachments and embrace the present moment as it is. This release of attachment is closely tied to the practice of non-judgmental awareness. Often, we are quick to judge our experiences and ourselves, labeling them as good or bad, desirable or undesirable. These judgments only fuel our cravings and aversions, creating mental agitation. Through mindfulness, we can learn to observe our experiences without labeling them, simply acknowledging them as they are, without attachment or judgment. By cultivating a non-judgmental attitude, we allow ourselves to experience the present moment fully, without the interference of our mental biases or expectations. This creates a sense of peace, as we stop fighting against the natural flow of life and begin to accept it as it is. Practical tips for developing inner peace. While the practices of mindfulness and meditation are powerful tools for cultivating inner peace, there are also simple, everyday practices that can help nurture a peaceful mind. Here are some practical tips for developing inner peace based on Buddhist teachings. 1. Practice gratitude. One of the simplest ways to foster inner peace is to cultivate gratitude. Take time each day to reflect on the things you are grateful for, no matter how small. Gratitude shifts our focus away from what we lack and brings our attention to the abundance in our lives. It helps to create a sense of contentment and appreciation for the present moment. 2. Live in the present moment. Often, we are caught in the past or the future, worrying about what has happened or what might happen. The present moment is the only time we truly have. And by learning to be fully present in each moment, we can experience a deep sense of peace. This practice is central to mindfulness, which encourages us to let go of distractions and focus on the here and now. 3. Develop compassion and loving kindness. Cultivating compassion for oneself and others is a powerful way to nurture inner peace. When we approach life with kindness and understanding, we create harmony in our relationships and in our own minds. By practicing loving kindness, meditation, we can extend goodwill and love to all beings, fostering a sense of connection and peace. 4. Simplify your life. In our modern world, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the complexity of our lives. Simplifying our surroundings, schedules, and commitments can reduce mental clutter and create space for inner peace. Take time to declutter your physical space, prioritize what truly matters, and let go of unnecessary distractions. 5. Engage in mindful breathing. One of the quickest ways to bring your mind back to a peaceful state is through mindful breathing. By focusing on the breath, you can calm the nervous system and center yourself in the present moment. Try taking a few deep breaths whenever you feel stressed or overwhelmed, bringing your awareness back to the simple act of breathing. Inner peace as a stable foundation. Inner peace is not something that can be obtained through external circumstances. It is a state of mind that arises from within. Through Buddhist practices such as mindfulness and meditation, we can cultivate a deep sense of peace that remains stable regardless of the changes and challenges in our lives. By letting go of attachment, embracing the present moment, and practicing compassion, we can develop an inner peace that serves as a solid foundation for a balanced and fulfilling life. As we nurture inner peace, we come to realize that it is the most reliable source of happiness. Unlike the fleeting nature of external pleasures, inner peace is enduring and unwavering. It is a peace that comes from within and remains with us, even in the face of life's uncertainties. When we cultivate this inner peace, we can navigate life with calm, clarity, and wisdom, knowing that true happiness lies not in external circumstances, but in the state of our own minds. Part 4. The benefits of prioritizing inner peace. Inner peace is not just a transient state of calm, it is the foundation for emotional resilience, meaningful relationships, and spiritual growth. In this section, we explore the profound benefits of prioritizing inner peace according to Buddhist teachings, including its impact on emotional recovery, relationships, and spiritual development. Emotional resilience and the power of inner peace. One of the most significant benefits of cultivating inner peace is its ability to help us recover emotionally from life's challenges. In a world full of stress, anxiety, and unpredictable events, maintaining inner peace allows us to navigate difficult situations with equanimity and clarity. Instead of reacting impulsively or emotionally to setbacks, individuals who prioritize inner peace are better able to maintain a calm, centered mind. According to Buddhist teachings, emotional resilience arises when we learn to observe our emotions without becoming attached to them. The Buddha taught that emotions, like all phenomena, are impermanent. They arise, exist, and then pass away. When we cling to our emotions or react to them with aversion, we cause ourselves suffering. However, by cultivating mindfulness, we can observe our emotional responses with detachment and allow them to dissipate without being overwhelmed by them. Emotional resilience is essential for overcoming life's difficulties. When we practice inner peace, we create the space to reflect before reacting. Instead of being ruled by anger, fear, or sadness, we can respond with wisdom, understanding that the external circumstances do not define our inner state. Through mindfulness and meditation, we train ourselves to observe our emotions, examine their origins, and respond in ways that align with our values, rather than simply reacting to external triggers. The Buddha often spoke about the importance of a calm mind in responding to difficulties. When we experience inner peace, we are better equipped to handle challenges, whether they are personal struggles, conflicts with others, or external stressors. The wisdom that arises from a peaceful mind enables us to make decisions with greater clarity and confidence, helping us navigate adversity with a sense of balance and resilience. The impact of inner peace on relationships. Another profound benefit of prioritizing inner peace is its positive impact on our relationships. A calm and peaceful mind is the bedrock for compassion, empathy, and understanding, qualities that are essential for building strong, meaningful relationships. When we cultivate inner peace, we are better able to connect with others in a genuine and loving way, free from the distortion of negative emotions or unresolved conflicts. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of loving kindness, metta, and compassion, karuna, both of which stem from a peaceful and open heart. A mind at peace is capable of offering kindness and understanding to others without judgment or expectation. In relationships, this translates to being able to listen deeply, empathize with others, and offer support without being influenced by our own ego or attachments. When we are at peace with ourselves, we are less likely to project our insecurities, fears, or desires onto others. Inner peace helps us detach from the need to control or manipulate others in order to fulfill our own desires. Instead, we can approach our relationships with an open heart, allowing space for others to be themselves without feeling threatened or judged. Moreover, inner peace enables us to maintain harmony and reduce conflict in relationships. In times of disagreement or tension, a peaceful mind helps us stay grounded and avoid being swept away by strong emotions such as anger or frustration. Instead of reacting defensively, we can respond thoughtfully, choosing words and actions that promote understanding and reconciliation. The Buddha taught that the foundation of true love and compassion is inner peace. When we are at peace with ourselves, we can offer that same peace to others, creating an environment of mutual respect, kindness, and understanding. This is especially important in intimate relationships, where emotional support, communication, and trust are key components of connection. Spiritual development. Inner peace as the path to liberation. In Buddhism, inner peace is not just about emotional well-being or harmonious relationships, it is also the foundation for spiritual development and the path to enlightenment. The Buddha taught that true liberation, nirvana, arises from a mind that is free from attachments, desires, and the suffering that comes from clinging to the impermanent nature of the world. Inner peace is essential for breaking the cycle of suffering, samsara, and attaining spiritual freedom. Inner peace is a gateway to deeper meditation and insight, vipassana, which allows us to see the true nature of reality. Through meditation, we cultivate a state of awareness that is undisturbed by distractions or desires. This stillness of mind allows us to gain insight into the nature of suffering, impermanence, and the interconnectedness of all things. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment to people, possessions, and even our own identity. When we let go of these attachments and allow the mind to rest in its natural state of peace, we begin to understand the Four Noble Truths, that suffering is inherent in life, that attachment is the cause of suffering, that suffering can end, and that the path to ending suffering is through the practice of the Eightfold Path. Inner peace is a prerequisite for walking the Eightfold Path, which is the Buddhist path to enlightenment. The path involves cultivating right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. As we develop inner peace through meditation and mindfulness, we are able to practice these aspects of the Eightfold Path more effectively, gradually reducing the causes of suffering and moving toward liberation. Ultimately, inner peace is the foundation for spiritual awakening. It enables us to transcend the limitations of the ego and connect with the true nature of reality. When we achieve inner peace, we experience a profound sense of liberation from the suffering caused by attachment, desire, and ignorance. This liberation is not just an abstract concept but a lived experience of freedom and clarity. Practical ways to prioritize inner peace. While inner peace is an essential foundation for emotional resilience, relationships, and spiritual growth, it is also something that can be nurtured and developed in everyday life. Here are some practical ways to prioritize inner peace based on Buddhist teachings. 1. Cultivate mindfulness. Make mindfulness a daily practice. By being present in each moment and observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment, you can create a peaceful mind that is less affected by external circumstances. 2. Practice loving kindness. Regularly practice loving-kindness meditation to develop compassion and goodwill towards yourself and others. This helps to create positive, peaceful interactions in your relationships. 3. Let go of attachment. Work on identifying the things you are attached to and practice letting them go. Whether it's material possessions, a specific outcome, or an idea of how things should be. Learning to release attachment fosters peace and freedom. 4. Engage in deep meditation. Spend time each day in quiet meditation to cultivate inner stillness and awareness. This practice helps to develop clarity, insight, and emotional resilience. 5. Reflect on the nature of suffering. Regularly reflect on the impermanence of life and the nature of suffering. By understanding that everything is temporary, you can reduce the fear of loss and the anxiety that comes from clinging to transient things. Inner peace as the key to a fulfilling life. In conclusion, the benefits of prioritizing inner peace are far-reaching and profound. Inner peace not only supports emotional resilience, harmonious relationships, and spiritual development, but it also leads to a deeper understanding of the true nature of life. By cultivating inner peace, we create a foundation for a life that is centered, balanced, and free from the suffering that comes from attachment and desire. The Buddhist teachings remind us that true happiness is found within. When we prioritize inner peace, we begin to experience life more fully, with greater clarity, compassion, and wisdom. Ultimately, it is through inner peace that we can transcend the cycle of suffering and move closer to the path of enlightenment. Part 5, Shifting Focus from Happiness to Inner Peace. In this final section, we explore how to shift our focus from the transient pursuit of happiness to the deeper, more lasting experience of inner peace. The quest for happiness often leads us to seek fulfillment in external achievements or possessions, but this search is often unfulfilling. By focusing on cultivating inner peace instead, we unlock a more profound and lasting sense of contentment. This shift in perspective is central to Buddhist teachings and leads to a life of freedom from desire and attachment. Practical tips for changing your mindset. The first step toward prioritizing inner peace is to change the way we ask ourselves about fulfillment. Instead of asking, "What will make me happy?" we should ask, "What will bring me peace?" This subtle but powerful shift in focus changes how we approach life and its challenges. Happiness, as we have seen, is often tied to external factors, achievements, possessions, or circumstances. However, these are fleeting, and their ability to bring lasting joy is limited. When we begin to focus on inner peace, we are less concerned with seeking external validation or material success. We start to value stillness over achievement, simplicity over excess, and wisdom over fleeting pleasures. This mindset leads to a deeper, more stable sense of fulfillment that is not dependent on the ebb and flow of life circumstances. Buddhism teaches that true peace arises when we cease to grasp at fleeting experiences or desires. The Buddha advised his followers to let go of attachments, whether to external objects or to the concept of happiness itself. When we stop seeking happiness in the transient world and instead prioritize inner peace, we begin to see life more clearly. we start to notice that the constant pursuit of happiness often causes more stress, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. By shifting our focus to peace, we cultivate a more grounded and resilient way of being. A second practical tip is to simplify our lives and let go of unnecessary worries. In a fast-paced, materialistic world, we often accumulate distractions, obligations, and desires that weigh heavily on us. Simplifying our lifestyle, whether by decluttering our environment, reducing our commitments, or letting go of the constant need to impress others, helps us to create space for inner peace. Buddhism encourages us to detach from the mental clutter that often fills our minds. This clutter arises from the constant cycle of desire, fear, and attachment. When we simplify our lives, we create space for mindfulness and stillness. We can begin to see things clearly and act from a place of inner calm rather than from a place of stress or anxiety. This clarity allows us to focus on what truly matters, leaving behind the distractions that only serve to pull us away from peace. A real-life example. Finding contentment through inner peace. To illustrate this shift from seeking happiness to seeking peace, let's consider the story of a person named Tom, who had spent much of his life pursuing external success. Tom worked tirelessly in his career, always striving for more money, more recognition, more possessions. While he achieved many of his goals, he often found himself feeling empty, anxious, and dissatisfied. Despite his success, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. One day, Tom attended a Buddhist retreat where he learned about the practice of mindfulness and meditation. During the retreat, he was introduced to the idea of prioritizing inner peace over external achievement. He began to realize that his constant pursuit of happiness through external accomplishments had left him feeling unfulfilled, because happiness based on external circumstances is always fleeting. Through meditation and mindfulness, Tom began to quiet his mind and observe his thoughts without attachment. He learned to focus on the present moment and appreciate the peace that comes from within. He realized that peace did not depend on his career or possessions, rather, it arose from his ability to let go of desires, judgments, and the need for approval. After returning home, Tom made a conscious effort to simplify his life. He reduced his work hours, spent more time with loved ones, and began practicing mindfulness every day. He no longer sought happiness in external achievements. Instead, he cultivated inner peace through regular meditation, gratitude, and acceptance of the present moment. Over time, Tom discovered that his sense of fulfillment was not tied to what he had, but to the peace he experienced within himself. This story illustrates the power of shifting our focus from the pursuit of happiness to the cultivation of inner peace. By prioritizing peace over pleasure, we can experience a deeper, more enduring sense of contentment that is not dependent on external circumstances. Buddhist wisdom, inner peace as the path to nirvana. In Buddhist teachings, inner peace is not merely a psychological state or a temporary feeling of calm. It is a fundamental aspect of the path to spiritual liberation. The Buddha taught that nirvana, or enlightenment, is the ultimate goal of life. Nirvana represents the cessation of suffering and the liberation from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, samsara. It is the state of complete peace and freedom, where the mind is free from attachments, desires, and delusions. According to Buddhist wisdom, inner peace is the gateway to nirvana. In order to achieve enlightenment, one must first cultivate peace within the mind. This is done through practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and the cultivation of virtues like compassion, loving-kindness, and equanimity. As the mind becomes more peaceful and free from attachment, it becomes increasingly receptive to wisdom and insight. This wisdom allows us to see the true nature of reality, including the impermanence of all things and the interconnectedness of all beings. The Buddha taught that the cessation of suffering comes through the elimination of attachment. By letting go of our attachment to desires, pleasures, and external circumstances, we begin to experience the freedom of inner peace. This peace allows us to transcend the cycle of suffering and attain nirvana, which is characterized by complete liberation from the causes of suffering. One of the key teachings of the Buddha is that the pursuit of happiness through external means is futile, because all things are impermanent. Happiness derived from possessions, achievements, or status is fleeting and unreliable. True peace, however, comes from within. When we turn our focus inward and cultivate inner peace, we begin to experience the profound freedom that comes from letting go of our attachments. Conclusion: the power of inner peace. In conclusion, the shift from focusing on external happiness to prioritizing inner peace is a transformative journey. It requires letting go of the constant search for external validation and shifting our focus toward cultivating peace within. Inner peace is the foundation for emotional resilience, harmonious relationships, and spiritual growth. It enables us to respond to life's challenges with calm and clarity. And it is the path to liberation from the suffering caused by attachment and desire. Through Buddhist practices like meditation and mindfulness, we can learn to experience the peace that resides within us. As we cultivate inner peace, we create a foundation for a more fulfilling and meaningful life. One that is not dependent on the fleeting nature of external circumstances. Ultimately, it is through inner peace that we can attain the ultimate goal of enlightenment, nirvana, and experience lasting freedom and joy. Conclusion. As we reach the end of our exploration, let's take a moment to reflect on the key ideas we've discussed. Happiness is fleeting, often influenced by external circumstances and desires. It is a temporary state that comes and goes. However, inner peace is lasting. It is a state that transcends the ups and downs of life, providing a solid foundation for how we face the world and our challenges. By prioritizing inner peace, we are not merely seeking comfort or momentary pleasure. We are cultivating a deep sense of tranquility that allows us to approach life with wisdom, clarity, and resilience. In Buddhism, we are reminded that peace within ourselves is the key to overcoming suffering. The Buddha taught that the cause of suffering is attachment, to things, people, and even to the very idea of happiness itself. When we let go of these attachments and stop seeking fulfillment in the external world, we begin to experience the profound peace that comes from within. This peace does not depend on any circumstance, it is always accessible, waiting for us to embrace it. Now, take a moment to ask yourself, are you chasing happiness, or are you nurturing inner peace? Happiness can never be fully attained through external means, as it is subject to change. However, peace is something you can always cultivate. It is not about having more or achieving more. It is about letting go of what no longer serves you and embracing the stillness that resides within. By focusing on inner peace, we shift our attention from external pursuits to internal harmony, leading to a life of balance and contentment. If this message has sparked reflection within you, I encourage you to take the time to reflect on your own journey. Consider where you are placing your energy, on fleeting moments of happiness, or on the cultivation of enduring peace. Take a moment every day to connect with yourself, to quiet the noise of the world, and to nurture your inner calm. Inner peace is not a destination, it is a journey. It is a path we walk every day, one step at a time. Sometimes, it's easy to forget amidst the chaos of life. But the more we practice mindfulness, meditation, and the wisdom of the Buddha, the more we come back to that peaceful place within ourselves. Remember, this journey is not one you walk alone, let's walk it together. If you found this video thought-provoking, I invite you to share it with others who may benefit from these insights. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel to receive more lessons on life and Buddhist philosophy. Together, we can continue to explore the teachings that guide us toward a peaceful, fulfilling life.